What jerkwad fact do you know that will ruin the fun for everyone? Story 1. In the movie Triple X, the part where the main character slides down a line from a parachute to a boat, you're literally watching a man unalive. The stuntman who slid down that line did not make it under that bridge. He slammed into it at full speed. Learned this while watching the director's commentary on the DVD. They used the footage still because, according to the commentary, that's how dedicated we are to entertaining you. I can't remember the quote fully, but that was the gist. I'll never be that dedicated to being entertained that I'll accept someone being unalive for it. Stuntmen and women are fantastic athletes who do amazing stuff, but if something is not done right, they'll get hurt or worse. Mistakes are not acceptable in that business. The second they do become acceptable, stuntmen become disposable. I will not accept that. Edit. For those of you talking about Ben-Hur, the 1928 silent version did have actors unalive. The newer one did not. I think that's crossing the line of still using footage of someone that passed on. There's been other situations in other movies that still kind of haunt us to this day. There was the tragic accident with the helicopter in the Twilight Zone movie from the 80s. There was also the tragic accident on the first Crow movie. I'm sure there are plenty of other instances that we don't even know about. Story 2. The search and rescue dogs on 9/11 were literally becoming depressed because they only found unalive bodies. The handlers started taking turns burying themselves in the rubble so the dogs could actually rescue someone. They were trained such that they got praise and rewards when they found a living person. That's what their whole training was. Find people. If in a real-world scenario where there's hardly anyone to find, their training doesn't make sense anymore. They get confused and irritated because their task becomes impossible. If I gave you a gold star every time you completed a paper maze, then gave you a maze with no end that just keeps looping back in itself, eventually you'd just say, forget this, and go jerk off or whatever. I never thought about that. It's not enough that people had to go through all this tragedy. The dogs were getting frustrated too because they were reacting to trying to find live people and didn't. That's pretty sad. Story 3. For young people who are obsessed with the superior audio quality of records, unless the audio was originally recorded on vinyl, the quality of the recording will be identical to what you'd hear on a CD or your computer. In other words, you're wasting your money buying vinyl for albums that were originally recorded on digital. Your Foster the People record is a sham. Edit. Many people have pointed out that originally records were recorded on analog tape, not vinyl. So I guess I should have said, unless the audio was originally recorded on analog. Forgive me for not knowing all the terminology. Others have pointed out that the recording will not in fact be identical to a CD or digital recording. My point was that the audio isn't necessarily better just because you're listening to the record. I think that also depends on the quality of the analog. I think it also depends on how much they did some audio restoration to any old tracks. I don't know exactly all the process that goes into what's called remastering. I'm pretty sure that they don't get the full quality they could from just trying to restore the old tracks. They might get a little more quality, but still probably not as much as if they had recorded on digital if it were possible. I think it's just more of a perception of the listener. Story 4. Dr. Seuss' wife Helen died by self-unaliving with an overdose of bee substance after a series of illnesses, including cancer spanning 13 years. Geisel was also despondent over her husband's burgeoning relationship with Audrey Stone Diamond. Feeling unable to live without him, Helen Geisel wrote in her self-unaliving note, "Dear Ted, what happened to us? I don't know. I feel myself in a spiral going down, down, down into a black hole from which there is no escape, no brightness, and loud in my ears from every side I hear, failure, failure, failure. I love you so much. I'm too old and enmeshed in everything you do and are that I cannot conceive of life without you. My going will leave quite a rumor, but you can say I was overworked and overwrought. Your reputation with your friends and fans will not be harmed. Sometimes I think of the fun we had all through the years." Story 5. Everyone makes fun of the lady who won millions of dollars because of the McDonald's Caution Hot Coffee Cup lawsuit. The temperature of the coffee was scalding on purpose to save money. In reality, she only sued for medical damages at first, but McDonald's offered practically nothing. She was later awarded $640,000 at the end of the trial, possibly a different amount altogether since it was settled out of court afterwards. It makes me sad that people judge others when they don't know the real story. Story 6. Worked in a liquor store. The same 25 or so people would come in every day and buy a pint of vodka. Every day. I would point out to them it's much cheaper over the long run just to buy a gallon. They would mostly shrug and buy their pint or fifth. I realized later they were high-functional alcoholics who, knowing they would drink every drop available, just bought what they could consume daily and remain semi-functional. When or if they moved up in bottle size, you could see the effects in their dress and speech. Many were professionals. I've seen this type of behavior in other lesser-known obsessions, less harmful obsessions. It kind of makes sense. You know you don't have control, but you're trying to exert some form of control over what you're doing. In a way, it's kind of hopeful. They're not so far gone that they lose all sense of control. Story 7. Toddlers don't have kneecaps until they're around 3 to 5 years old. It doesn't really ruin the fun for everyone. Just like to see the look on the parents' faces when I tell them their toddler doesn't have kneecaps. Usually the cartilage simply hasn't hardened yet. Then, watch in sheer delight as they sprint over to their child and feel the toddler's non-existent kneecaps and wonder what's genetically wrong with them. Story 8. If you ever play Monopoly and are playing by the official rules, don't upgrade to hotels. There are a finite number of housing properties available. Get a group ASAP, fill it up with 4 houses ASAP, and let it sit. Continue to buy property, fill them with houses. Never upgrade them to hotels, and you will win the game, as the other players have no source of income compared to you. I read about this before. The person who originally created the game we know as Monopoly didn't have that hotel rule. The original game was called the Landlord's Game. It was originally intended to be a critique of capitalist society. The original creator was pretty much ripped off by Parker Brothers. Someone else made a clone of the game and sold that to Parker Brothers. This strategy makes sense. It also holds to the designer's original vision for the game. Story 9. Scientists found a whale that sings at a frequency of 52 Hz, whereas the standard for most whales is around 15 to 25 Hz. This means that this whale cannot communicate with other whales, was found to travel alone, and is pretty much going to be alone forever because of something that they cannot control or change. Story 10. Bread is actually unhealthy for ducks, so while feeding them bread, you're slowly killing them. I have some ducks that live in my yard, and I knew bread was bad for them, so I found a website that said to give them unsalted sardines. Tried that, and they looked at me like I was stupid. I never saw so much condescension in a duck's face. Have we really imprinted our habit of drinking and eating things that are bad for us onto animals? Have we gotten the ducks so used to bread that they still eat it even though it's bad for them? Probably. I wonder if there's anything we can give them that they actually want to eat and it's good for them. I'll have to look that up later. Story 11. There is no gender pay gap in the US, UK, or Australia. Only women who work less hours, can't negotiate higher salaries, and pick lower-paying jobs. Runs away. Edit. This comment is mostly a joke. There is a discrepancy when it comes to total earnings over a lifetime. Sure, I agree. With that, I don't agree with the 77 cents to $1, though. Story 12. The sound of the inmates yelling in the background of Johnny Cash's recording of Folsom Prison Blues live at Folsom Prison was added in post-production. The inmates in the audience were silent the whole time because they were too scared of the guards. Edit. I googled around to double-check, and it seems that I was misremembering about that last part. My bad. They weren't entirely silent, but the cheering after I shot a man in Reno just to watch him die was edited in. Story 13. Hot dogs, sausages, or any kind of processed meat for that matter is basically all the stuff butchers throw out, like ears, feet, organs, etc. This is one way to use every part of the animal. Source: my dad's a pig farmer. This one isn't new news. This fact was actually used as a joke in the 80s Dragnet movie. I think a lot of people that know this still eat hot dogs and sausages anyway. We may not want to see how the sausages are made, but we'll still fry them up and eat them for breakfast. Story 14. There is no cloud. It's just some stranger's computer. Explain the cloud to people at work in a fairly simple way. They were like, what? It's just a bunch of hard drives? Thought it wasn't physical. How? How would it not be physical? Story 15. In the time it took you to read this post, someone unalived, someone was violated, and someone's car and/or home was broken into. Hell, better check my car. Too late, it's been violated. I appreciate trying to bring a little levity to a really dark fact, but that was really dark. That was like black coffee with no cream kind of dark. I can appreciate the joke though. It's just one of those facts that is true, but we can't really wrap our head around without going crazy. Story 16. A fun fact learned from my friend, the semi-truck driver. If a driver is ahead and sees a cop looking for speeders, they will often radio in to a nearby truck. The trucks will slow down traffic until they pass the cop. I've noticed this a lot since being told, and can usually spot the cop that they're slowing things down for. You guys are the realest. Story 17. Pointing out laugh tracks. Playing videos on YouTube of your friends' fave sitcoms with it removed and ask them if they think it's funny, or laugh if there's any real moment of funny, and then ask them why they didn't laugh. Story 18. I told a little girl that dogs live to be around 10 years old. She asked how long humans live, and I told her around 80. She did the math, and a deep-set depression set in. Okay, that's true, but I have a question. Why are you telling a little girl how long dogs live? Did she ask? Were you being an actual jerkwad? That's like telling a little kid before Christmas time Santa isn't real. There's being right and there's being nice. Story 19. Sea otters, cute as they may be, violate baby seals to death. Or more accurately, the baby seals drown while being violated because the otters hold them down. Story 20. Every year on the anniversary of its arrival, the Mars rover sings happy birthday to itself, millions of miles from anyone. Story 21. Peter Pan was really an angel of unalive that held kids' hands on their way to heaven, Neverland. That's why those kids never grew up. They weren't alive. That makes sense. Isn't Disney coming out with a live-action remake of Peter Pan pretty quickly? I think the trailer just dropped. It kind of makes Robin Williams' movie about Peter Pan more hopeful. He decided he wanted to do something more with his life than be the angel of unaliving. Story 22. Dennis Leary toured with Bill Hicks, stole his material, and launched his career. Bill Hicks passed away of cancer. Dennis Leary's debut album was called No Cure for Cancer. Story 23. Spiders molt. When you see an unalive spider, there's a good chance that it isn't actually an unalive spider. It's just an exoskeleton. The spider is still alive, and it's bigger than before. Nope. Don't like that one at all. Don't like that fact one bit. Don't like the fact that spiders evolve. Don't like that they evolve bigger. I have to stop recording and check around my house for spiders now. I regret reading that one. I regret reading that one a lot. Story 24. Dogs love squeaky toys because it's from their wolf instinct of almost unalive prey still whimpering. Story 25. You are born too late to explore the Earth and too early to really explore space. Story 26. Dolphins are violent violators. Please leave your story in the comments. I would love to make a video on them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.